bit of this right here.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. You loved the home game at Maury's place last time. Well, because we lost money, they invited me back for round 2. This time we're at Greg's place. I brought my favorite beef, Johnny's beef. I'm gonna be indulging in that. Right now we're indulging with some fish at the table. We're gonna try to run it up and get back that money from last time. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below. And now let's meet the guys. The game is 1-3, we're in for $500. First hand of the night, I look down at pocket 5s from late position. When the action limps over to me, I raise it up to $15 and we get 3 callers, so that's setting the tone for the night. We're going 4 ways to the flop. The flop comes 8-6-4 with 2 diamonds, so we have a gutter to the straight, that's about it. Big blind bets out for $15. His name is Terry, and I decide to put in the call. We're heads up to the turn, which comes the 6 of hearts, pairing the board. When Terry slows down and checks it over to me, probably could be going for a bet. Instead, I slow down and check. My logic is there's a ton of draws out there that can get there on the river. For instance, any of the ace-high flush draws. Any hand that has like a pair and a straight draw is also going to call, so not too many hands are going to fold. At the same time, I only have pocket 5, so I'd pretty much just be bloating the pot and hoping for only a 7 on the river. When I check behind, we get that miracle card. It comes the 7 of diamonds. So we end up rivering the straight, but the front door flush draw gets there. Terry leads out now for $30 into me. I think a call is just too weak. I need to put in a raise and get value from any of his strong hands. For instance, 8-7, maybe ace-6 can call a raise. I shouldn't make it too big so I can get called by those, and I put in a raise to $90. Terry doesn't think too long before jamming all in for $500, so yeah, definitely a strong line from Terry, and I can probably just get away from my hand. At best, I'm chopping versus any 5, however, I could be losing versus any 2 diamonds in his hand, and any of his sets, for instance, 8-6, pocket 8s, pocket 4s, pocket 7s. So yeah, I just get rid of my cards, and he shows an interesting card, the ace of diamonds. So it looks like he had the nut flush. Still interesting, he decides to jam on a paired board, but we're going to give him the credit, and he's going to take down that first pot of the night. Hey, Maury, what do we got here?
Got pineapple strawberry.
Or maybe a little bit of this right here. Talk to the jack. Yeah.
Put that on the vlog. I add on for an additional $200, so I'm at maximum stack. I look down at queen 10 of spades from the +1 position, and I open it up to $15. We get 4 callers, so we're going 5 ways to a queen high flop. Queen 6-3 with 2 clubs. When the action's on me, I fire out for $30 into the field. Usually when there's a ton of players in the hand, it's best just to check when you're multi-way. However, there's some draws out there and it's a home game, so all that goes out the window and I bet out for $30. Both Maury and the player in the cutoff put in the call, and that leads us to a bad card on the turn, the 9 of clubs. You can see in real time that I decide to check. That's the best play when we get called in 2 spots. We're only really going to be ahead of any of their worst queens. We're going to be losing to king queen, ace queen, maybe even queen 6, queen 9 now. But more importantly, we're losing to all their sets and their flush draws that got there on the turn. So I slow down and check in the actions on Maury, who bets out for $55. The cutoff Greg gets out of the way, actions back over to me, and he bets so small, so it's enticing for me to put in the $55. But at the same time, is he really going to bet multi-way here for such a small bet? Without a set at minimum, he most likely has a flush. For that reason, I muck my cards even though I'm getting a great price. My pair of queens is basically just a bluff catcher, and I'm not trying to do that against Maury, and someone at the table has something to say about him as well. Attaboy.
What do you know, Maury? Maury's got it.
Next hand, and this one's a fun one. I look down at pocket ochos from the small blind. A few limps to me, so I raise it up to $15. The big blind puts in the call, and early position who goes by Will, he raises it up to $50. Yes, the limp re-raise from Will. Definitely a strong line, but I have pocket eights, and that's a great hand to crack a hand like aces, ace king, pocket kings, pocket queens. So I'm not going anywhere for an additional 35 bucks. I put in 2 green chips, and the big blind gets out of the way. When the flop comes 10-8-4, bang, we flop middle set. I'm gonna play it cool. Here comes my best poker face, and I check it over to Will. Now I'm definitely hoping poor Will has pocket aces or pocket kings. We're gonna get the full double up. When he doesn't decide to check behind and bets out for $100, music to my ears. Now, do we go for the check raise, or do we just string him along and put in a call? The reason we'd want to go for a check raise is if he has a hand like ace king of hearts, ace queen of hearts, we don't want to give him a cheap price to draw to those hands. But if we go for a raise, it also announces the strength of my hand to an extent. Sure, I could have hands like jack 9, or I could have worse heart draws like 7-9 of hearts or 7-6 of hearts, but at the same time, it pretty much means I have pocket 10s or pocket 8s. For that reason, I decided to just put in 1 black chip and slow play my hand. We're off to the turn, which is a great card for us. It comes the 4 of spades. Not only is it a black card, but it's a board pairing card. So now I'm hoping if he was bluffing on the flop, he's going to continue with any of those ace king of hearts or ace queen of hearts type hands, because now we have a boat and our boat can't be sunk. For that reason, I check it over to Will for a second time. I guess we could have a donking range on this turn, but that's neither here nor there. I check it over to Will, and he copies and pastes his bet from the flop onto the turn. It's $100 for me to call. Now here I think a check raise is actually a better play than on the flop. I think here we could just get our entire stack in. We don't have that much more behind, only a few more $100. But instead, I decided to put in the call here once again. I think my logic here was just putting in the call and then ripping the river. I think that's a little bit flawed because any of those heart draws that brick on the river aren't going to call me on the river, but they'll call me on the turn. So yeah, you can kind of see what I'm saying there. So yeah, I think a jam here probably is the best move. Regardless though, when I put in the call, the deuce of clubs peels off on the river. It isn't a heart, which I would have liked to see, but if he has aces or kings, he's still going to have to pay me off. So I decided to rip my entire stack into the middle, and he has me covered. It's $180 to play. Now, if you guys remember from the intro, Will is a little bit new to poker. He's played before, but his largest pot is $150. So yeah, this pot already here is triple the size of that. And because we're filming a vlog, I want to have a fun time and make poker a fun experience for Will. So even though he's in a tough spot, I let him choose one of my cards. Yes, against pros and other good players, this is definitely a mistake, but I like Will, so I let him choose a card, and he chooses the 8 of diamonds. When he sees the 8 of diamonds, he pretty quickly mucks his cards face up, and he shows ace king of hearts. So yeah, showing a card there was not the move. Maybe he would have called me off with ace high. But also you can see my logic on the turn for wanting to get my hand all in. He would have called me and I would have made another $180. But still, I'm pretty stoked to win that $515 pot, and we're finally in the green for the night. Big news, I'm looking for a new full-time editor. If you're interested in working with me going forward and can match my style, shoot me an email. I also want to give a huge shout out to Gil, who's edited for me for the past year. He started with my Texas road trip videos, and without him, we wouldn't be where we are today. Feel free to drop a comment down below letting Gil know how much you've enjoyed his editing. We'll definitely miss you. We're going to battle in this next hand. I looked on a king-jack offsuit from the low jack. Few limps to me, so I raise it up to $20. Probably could size up to 25 or 30. Maury decides to put in the call, and a player in early position does as well. We're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 7 deuce with 2 diamonds. Flopping top pair with a king of diamonds seems pretty great to me. Early position checks it over to me, and I actually decide to check when I'm in between 2 opponents and they can have more of the sets like pocket 7s or pocket deuces. I like to check my range, so that's what I decided to do over to Maury. Maury doesn't check behind and take the free card. He bets out for $22, making the dealer's life a little bit more difficult. When I put in the call, dealer has to get some change. So yeah, Maury, just bet 25. Just bet 25, speed the game up. I'm just kidding, man. You do what you want. And the turn card comes the 8 of clubs. I decided to check it over to Maury for a second time, and he now goes for a very small bet of 35 bucks. I think calling here would be a mistake. It allows all of his draws to realize their equity pretty cheaply on the river. So for that reason, and because I have a good hand and I've played it pretty slow up until this point, I decided to re-raise him up to $105. I probably could go even larger to like 140 or 150, really putting him to the test. When I make it 105, he is in the tank. It's a tough spot for him apparently, but ultimately he decides to toss in the black chip with that red chip, and that means a call, and we're off to the river in a $314 pot, which comes the Queen of Clubs, a very dynamic card because now I beat any of his two pairs, like 7-8, King 7, King 8. However, I'm losing to the backdoor club draw. Still, it's not that front door diamond draw, so I have a little bit less to be worried about, and I think I need to go for a little bit more value. Into the $314 pot, I bet $130. Maury doesn't think about it too long before jamming all in for $470 effective. Alarm bells are going off in my head. Did he back into a flush? How is that possible? Because I have the King of Clubs, so it makes like Ace King of Clubs impossible for him to have. It makes King 10 of Clubs impossible for him to have. King of Clubs is actually a super important card that I have in my hand because it takes away all of his top pair with backdoor club ideas away from him completely. So if he backed into the club draw here, it'd be pretty random hands. Like, would he bet the flop with 9-10 of clubs? It's just really tough to find any clubs in his range. So at the end of the day, I have two pair and maybe he's overvaluing 7-8, King 7, King 8. So I decided to put in the call. I can't be folding in these tough spots all the time. But this time, when I put in the call, he turns over a wacky hand. How do you have this here, Maury? He turns over 10-6 of clubs. So yes, calls me for $20 pre. Then when check 2 on the flop, he doesn't check behind with that club out there. He decides to bet it and then bet the turn once again, call the raise, and get there on the river. Yes, Maury, you deserve this $1,200 pot. It's coming your way. And if you play 10-6 of clubs, you get rewarded with the pot. Congrats, man. That is a sick hand. We top up for an additional $500 and I look down at Ace 10 of hearts from the big blind. Greg in late position opens it up to $16 and it folds around to me. I'm on tilt from that last hand with Maury, but I still have a good hand, so I 3-bet him to $50. Greg puts in the call and we're off to a flop heads up, which comes ace high. Ace Queen 7 with 1 heart, we have top pair. I usually like to check when I'm out of position. That's what I decide to do. Even though I have top pair, I check it over to Greg. And the turn card comes the 9 of diamonds. Pretty decent card, and I'm going to go for a bet. I'm still going to get value from any of his worst aces. I think a hand like King Queen or Queen Jack might have to call us here as well. That's a benefit for checking the flop, and I bet out for $40. Greg gets out of the way, so we're taking down that $100 pot, but we're still stuck on the night. The next hand's an interesting one. I look down at Jack 10 offsuit from the hijack. Tim opens it up to $16 on my right. I decide to put in the call and 3 other players do as well. We're off to the flop in an $80 pot, which comes 10-6-5 with 2 clubs, giving me top pair. When Tim decides to continue betting into the field for $40, I'm not going to be folding my top pair. I put in the call and middle position calls as well. We're going 3 ways out of position to the turn, which gives me 2 pair, comes the jack of clubs. Middle position checks it over to Tim, who checks it over to me, and this is an interesting spot. I think if anyone had 2 clubs in their hand, they probably would have announced it by now on the turn and bet out into me. So I'm pretty safe to go for a bet for value. Additionally, we want to bet here to charge any of those ace or king high club draws. We can't let them get a free card and realize on the river. For that reason, I bet out for $100. Sure, we might get called with any hands that are slow playing, but at the same time, we have 2 pair and we need to charge those draws the maximum. Middle position gets out of the way and Tim thinks about it, but ultimately folds ace king high, but he had the ace of clubs. So yeah, you can see how my $100 bet there was important to do. If I check on the turn and he gets there on the river, I'd be sick to my stomach. But we run out the board and it comes the 4 of hearts, so he made a good fold there, I guess.
There's a ball on the left side.
What's
it was not.
Jack 4.
It was not something I threw.
Jack 4 up.
Oh, Jack.
Nice.
Nice hand.
I guess his. So you can get like a ball.
You tell him what you want.
Moving right along, I look down at King 6 of spades from under the gun, and yes, I raise it up to $15. The player on my left, who goes by Vince, he puts in the call, and we are going heads up, out of position to a flop. which gives us a pair. It comes 9-6-5 with 2 clubs. This is a flop that isn't really going to connect well with my under the gun raising range unless I have a hand like pocket 9s or maybe pocket 6s. So for that reason, I check it over to Vince, who bets out for a quarter. Action's back over to me, and after I check to him and I make a pair, I'm not going to be folding just yet. I put in the call, and we're off to the turn, which comes the 6 of diamonds. Bang! We turn 3 of a kind. It's a great card because I have 3 of a kind. Any of his 9s are going to continue betting. Additionally, if he has a random 6 in his hand, we now are going to get the maximum here, considering we're only losing to like 6-5 or ace-6. So when I check it over to him, I expect him to bet a large portion of the time. When he checks behind, it's pretty surprising and unfortunate. But either way though, the King of Clubs peels off on the river. If I could pick a card, this would be it. The King of Clubs brings in the front door club draw, and it gives me the boat. So I'm sitting pretty here in seat 3. I think going for value is the most important thing to note, so I decided to rip it all in for 150 effective, which is what he has left in his stack. I have the boat, and he's going to have to call me with any of his random hands. If I check it over to him, he could check behind and we miss out on value. Sure, he could bluff, I guess, but is he really going to be bluffing into this $80 pot? I'm not too sure, so I like my jam. He doesn't, he mucks his cards, and we're going to take down that pot with our boat. Moving right along to the last hand of the night, but it's probably the most interesting. I look down at ace-queen offsuit from the cutoff. Jose opens it up to $15 and he gets 3 callers, and the action's over to me. Ace-queen offsuit is a great hand to go for a re-raise against any position, let alone when there's a raise and 3 callers, so I decided to pop it up to $80. Action's back over to Jose, and he decides to 4-bet all in. It's $464 more, so $544 total, and the 3 other players casually fold their cards, so the action's back over to me. Now let's think about our options. Obviously folding seems like the most responsible. He's in early position, he raises, and then he 4-bet jams all in. I just have ace high and it's not even suited. At the same time though, I'm stuck. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm probably not going to get a better chance than this to get all my money in a decent spot. He also could have a hand like pocket jacks or pocket 10s, and then we're basically flipping. So with all the dead money out there, and because it's the end of the night, I want to get unstuck, I put in the call. Jose does not look too stoked, and we're turning our cards face up for the vlog. I turn over my ace-queen offsuit, and he turns over ace-7 of hearts. Yes, 8-7 of hearts, Jose, is not going to be good pre-flop, although you could catch up on the flop turn or river. Let's run it out, dealer. The dealer is Maury, and he puts out the flop, which is clean for us, although there is a heart out there. Let's see if the backdoor hearts come in. Turn comes the 8 of spades, which is clean for me. No 7 on the river dealer, and he doesn't put it out there, the jack of hearts, and just like that, we're going to get unstuck and take down that over $1,000 pot.
It's doubled up on that.
Yeah, I was gonna go up. We play a few more orbits, but not much more. We have to catch a flight to LA in 6 hours. I rack up my chips and cash out. All right, that wraps up the home game session at Greg's place. Got into the game for $1,200, out for $1,103, I believe. So a net loss of 97 or 94 bucks. We're here at LAX. Got a few things planned at the Hustler. Got a meetup game today, immediately after that game yesterday. So yeah, we're going on like 5 hours of sleep right now. Meet up at the Hustler today, and then we got a home game tomorrow, and then we have the Hustler live on October 3rd. Let's freaking go. That's on Monday. If you guys like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below. Good luck on the felt as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.